Initializing Ethereum protocol. Establishing link to Cloud Citadel. Welcome, Alita Army. You stand at the threshold of quantum consciousness.
Hoka hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream of February the 6th, 2026. Ghost in the System, an Alita Battle Angel story part 10, which in this case happens to be chapter 22, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, Creek Indian from Denver, Colorado, and with me are Lee from Fountain, Colorado.
Hey, how's it going?
And from just north of Sydney in New South Wales, Australia, we have Max Jelly. How's it going, Max Jelly?
What have you been smoking, Creaky? Jeez.
I got my top 40 yuck in my voice going, I think.
You sure do. Wow.
Oh, boy. So how are things down there, down under?
Oh, yeah, bit hot. It's February. You get that. But, yeah, not too badly.
Cool. What about you, Lee? What's going on up there in Fountain, or down there in Fountain?
It's warmed up, 15 degrees centigrade.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's, yeah, if you don't like the weather in Colorado, just stick around for 15 minutes. It'll change. So, it's
Well, that's convenient.
Yeah.
Or inconvenient, as the case may be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Depending on how things go. So,
there was a song written about Melbourne in Victoria, Australia, back in the 80s called 4 Seasons in One Day.
oh, really? They had 4 seasons in one day.
Yeah, Melbourne's weather changes on the drop of a hat.
It's a lot like Denver then, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, Angelus is not going to make it today. That guy is working for Alita merch is what he's doing. He's working.
Probably working to pay off his last flight across the world to meet Rosa.
That could be true as well. You know, yeah. So, of course, I would dare say that Angelus would say that that was not money wasted. He probably thinks that was a money well spent. Looks like we got AKA out there. How's it going, AKA? Just say hi in the chat. All right, well, let's get to it. I guess we still got the LA Fires fundraiser going on. We've raised $1,600, you know, which is not a lot of money, but, you know, still, you know, every little bit helps. Those folks are still in recovery there, I believe. You know, well, I think they are. I'm not sure. I know as of late November, they were about, you know, about 80% recovered. They may be recovered by now. I'll have to check. But anyway, we got this GoFundMe going there. You see the link below the image on the screen there. That link is down in the description. You click on it, takes you to the website, and you can donate by clicking on Donate Now. Now, if you're a little bit worried about your name, you know, being displayed on the internet, then you can specify either your internet handle or you can just specify anonymous. and you won't have to worry about that. Now, Angelus and I, we got our names in there, so you know we don't really care that much. I know that Vladi, you don't see it up there on that list, but Vladi actually donated some money, and he used his internet handle. He used Internet 99. I wonder why he chose 99. That's interesting. But anyway, you know, he did that. And then, of course, Lee and Alita Rabe and others have chosen anonymous. And, you know, therefore you can protect your, you know, personal information off the internet. And we got the Alita sequel petition going on. We have 178,651 you know, signatures on. I don't know what it was last week. Seems that we've added 3 or 4 signatures. I'm not sure about that. But you know, anyway, if you have not signed, you know, you please sign the petition. This is our way of reminding Disney that we're out here and we're not going anywhere. You do have to enter your name and email address, but you can specify that to be anonymous, and that won't go out, you know, on the internet. So you click on that link below the image on your screen. That, you know, that link is down in the description. You click on it, and it takes you to the website. You certainly sign the petition, and you can actually help promote, you know, the sequel by I believe you click on support now, I think, and you can, you know, enter some money in there, you know, if you want to, because what it does like, I think it does something like a Google Ads or maybe something like that, you know, kind of, you know, promotion. But you don't have to if you know, if you got don't have any money to spare, or maybe you're more judicious with your money, then all you have to do is sign the petition, and you've done your part as an Alita Army member. We got Bad Man out there. How's it going, Bad Man? It's good to see you. For those of you that are in the UK, particularly around London, or if you're way out in the Shires like Lottie is, you know, you can still go see Rosa, or if you're planning a trip to London, I highly recommend this play. It's really a neat play. It's based on the I guess the Gary Cooper movie that was shot back in the 50s. So it's been quite a while, you know. But Rosa is phenomenal in this thing. I mean, God, she's such a wonderful actor. I mean, golly, you know, just you know, everything she does, she knocks it out of the park. Of course, the Creek is biased, so you know that's the way that goes. But she is really good at what she does. And the other actors are good as well. Billy Crudup, you know, he played Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen. So, you know, that's, you know, I talked to him for just a very brief amount of time. And I told him, I said, wow, it's pretty cool. Dr. Manhattan knows how to act. And he says, yeah, well, I got to make a living. Something like that anyway, something to that effect. And you got to talk to him just a little bit. But certainly we got to talk to Rosa a lot. And, you know, Vladi and Smendrick and Angelus and I, you know, we were there, and you guys all know this. This has been 3 weeks now, I think. And we were there, and we talked to her, and she is just a delight to talk to, man. She's just really cool. You know, I just, you know, we really enjoyed talking to her, and, oh, we gave her some gifts and stuff like that, you know, and, you know, to express our rather, you know, our appreciation, admiration, and affection for her, you know, because she is super, you know, so we wanted her to have those gifts. And, you know, that's, you know, we were just only too happy to give it to her. But go see this play if you're in the UK. And also go see this movie. Now, that number is old now. I think it's over 1.4 million now, billion with a B. But it's a good movie. If we can drive those numbers up, it might help. Although I think already it's successful already, so I don't know if we have to drive them up that much. But it's a really good movie. It's got a good story. It's a 3-hour movie, so prepare to sit. You know, but it's certainly worth it. It's entertaining from start to finish. To me, there was no slow part of this. You know, it was just really a super movie. And I think the implications for Alita is it once again demonstrates to Disney that, you know, hey, you know, if you want to make money, you know, you need to, you know, kind of support James Cameron, and green light the movies that he wants to do, and you'll make money. So anyway, that's go see this movie, and it's really good. We do have Rosa's Queen Studios bust. She knows we have it, so that's not a there's no urgency here to get it to her. She's when the time is right, I suspect when they do green light the sequel, then she'll let us know that, hey, I'm ready for the bust, because she did tell me she wanted it, not this past time. She told me in Pasadena she wanted it. So when I told her that we had it for her, and this is not a gift though, like what we gave her in London. This is for us. This is kind of like an award, because we really think highly of Rosa. We're really, really lucky that she was selected to play Alita. And once again, this is another expression of our admiration, appreciation, and affection for our queen, and she is the queen of the Alita army. She said that is a crown I would wear with pride, so anyway, I think she loves being a queen of the Alita army. So when she's ready, we'll get it to her. We'll get it to her any way she wants. If she says, Creek, I want you to ship it to me, I'll do that. She says, Creek, can you drive that down here to LA from Denver? And yes, I can do that. There's no problem, And when that happens, Angelus and I will probably, and probably my brother as well, will want to go down there and we'll deliver it. I'll put that thing in the back of my car and we'll drive that thing down there, to LA. So any way she wants it, we'll get it to her. We do have the Alita Gaming Network going on right now, and I haven't checked this lately. I was on it today to send out invites, but I didn't really check, on how many members we have. It was around 50 last time. It's small, but we're kind of keeping it that way on purpose, really, because a lot of folks like it to be small and intimate like that. There you see the link below our Chibi Alita mascot there. And you click on that link. Now that link is down in the description. Yeah, my car. That's right. That's right, Bad Man. I will. That's my car for sure. You will need an Alita bus? No, I don't think so. That thing will fit in the back of my car, for sure.
No, he's saying if you get more people going with you.
Oh, I see. I didn't read that part of it. Yeah, you're right, Bad Man. If I could get a bunch of people, we might need to get a bus. Although we won't, probably not. Lee might want to go with us. So might Alita Rave and Do Not Stand By. And if that happens, it'll be a cramped drive down there. We'll have a bunch of people in the car. But anyway, that's the way it goes, I guess. So. But anyway, like I say here on the Alita Gaming Network, that we got that link below our Chibi Alita mascot right there. It takes you to the website. If you don't have a Discord username, it will prompt you for one. And if you select the basic service, it's absolutely free. Then you'll get the link to, or the invite rather, to join the gaming network. And we do not charge 1 cent for this. Anything we do for Alita and Rosa, in the Alita army here between Alita Livestream and Radio Chaos and some of the others that are on YouTube, like Chaos Nova and so forth. There's another Alita army out there, in addition to the Radio Chaos channel. But this is a labor of love for us. We're not making money on this. I'm not, and I don't think nobody on the panel here is either. So because we're only doing this because we want a sequel. That's the only reason. Now, if you do live streaming, of course, you can put the link to your live stream there in the live streams channel. I know Maxie puts the link in the network. Sometimes I don't think he puts it in the live streams channel. He puts it all over the place, but that's okay.
No, I used to put it in the creative channel because I couldn't access the live stream channel, but then you
really?
opened it up so I could, and then I started putting it there.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll have to check.
It wasn't by choice.
Yeah. Okay.
It's sorted out now. It was just in the early days, it wasn't set up properly.
Ah, I see. Yeah. So anyway, but Chaos Nova, I know he does live streams from time to time. He'll put his link in there as well. we have, a fan fiction channel, Lee and Maxie, or Max Jelly. I'm going to call him Max Jelly because he is Max Jelly.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to take a turn.
The next level. Yeah. But anyway, well, maybe Rosa will do a play in Australia, and then if that happens,
I'll be happy.
I'll fly to Australia. I will, But anyway, we got the fan fiction channel. If you write a novel fanfic like Lee or Maxie has done, you can put that in there. Or if you do shorts, you can put that in there as well in the fan fiction channel. I know channel does not exist. She has several shorts in there. Panini Freaks got a short in there, and I got a short in there. So you can go read new content even if it's not canon. Maxie's is pretty close to canon, though, isn't it? Or at least in spirit.
Well,
in spirit.
I mean, I was trying to combine the essence of all the different versions to try and sync it all up. It was a bit tricky.
Well, mine and I guess Lee's, we're not canon, but we're still in the spirit, of the story. I mean, it involves Alita, what she is, what she does, stuff like that.
Well, Creek, even yours is probably capable of being more sort of like in line with the canon, because it's a bit of filling in the blank time that we didn't really get any information on. So
except
it could be something that she went through.
Yeah, except for the fact that Lou Collins is her controller.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Eisenberg, but that's okay. That's because I like Lou Collins. I knew it was not going to be the same thing, but I didn't care. It was my story, for Christ's sake.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, or as the Aussies would say, crikey. So anyway, we
don't use that word all that often. That's just
you don't use it.
No, crikey doesn't come up very often unless you're really hamming it up.
I see. So when you're handing it out, then you use it. I have to remember that when I come to Australia. I might get in a few fights if I start using it, right, Maxie?
You could get in a few fights anyway. I mean, you go to the right pubs.
Go to a pub and just get in a fight. That's just a normal operation, isn't it?
Pretty much.
So anyway, that's but you can if you write fanfics, you can put them in there as well. If you do artwork or videos, you can upload those to the user creations channel. If you do content that's maybe not related to Alita, or maybe it's maybe very loosely related to Alita, you can put that in the off-topic channel. We don't. You can put other anime in there and stuff like that, but we do want you to keep it to the off-topic channel and not the other channels. We have 3 voice channels, which are kind of like Zoom calls, and you can get on there and talk to other people in the gaming network. And none of those 3 channels are streamed, by the way. So no one on the internet other than the people that you invite from the gaming network. In other words, even other people in Discord can't get in there. Just the people in the gaming network. So if you got friends or something, you want to invite them onto one of those channels, you don't need to schedule that with me or anything like that. You just jump into the channel and invite people and start talking. I know Vladi and Smendrick were in the gaming channel playing games at one point, and you can share your screen and do all kinds of cool stuff. You can turn your camera on if you want. If you don't want to, you can not turn your camera on. It's okay. We do have watch parties in the gaming network. The last watch party we did was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. We watched Chips, and of course we watched Chips because our Queen Rosa was in that movie, so we watched that. We have watched Alita Battle Angel 2 or 3 times in the gaming channel, or not the gaming channel, the watch party channel rather. We've watched we've watched Chariot, Good Crazy. We watched The Trouble with Edward. That's Rose's Star Trek shorts, one of the shorts for Star Trek. I mean, it's introduced by Anson Mount. He's one of the actors that's in the Star Trek Strange New Worlds, I think it is. So it kind of ties it together, We have watched other sort of related to Alita movies in there. Like we watched Ghost in the Shell, the live action adaptation with Scarlett Johansson. We watched one of the anime episodes in there, and we watched Rollerball one time in the Watch Party channel, you know. So, and you can do that too. If you want to do a watch party, you don't need my permission. You just get in there and watch it, you know. I think Vladi and Smendrick did that once, I think, or they shared their screen and did something. I'm not sure what they did, but anyway. I do watch it, you know, to make sure that there's nothing untoward or inappropriate that gets uploaded, but that's never happened. So, you know, we don't have that problem with the Alita Army. You know, we all just want to have fun with this. All right, Lee, you're at bat, as they would say in baseball or cricket.
All right. So, last chapter left off with Jason having a near-death experience, or what seemed like one, and meeting an unusual individual who claimed to be able to travel dimensions. And then, whatever it was, near-death experience or vision, quest, what have you, ended. And while that was happening, Chapter 22, Alita. It had taken hours to get back to the clinic. The return trip from the shipwreck had been agonizingly long, despite Kiyomi driving dangerously fast on roads that were questionable at best. All three of them had been shocked by Gerhard's sudden and nearly frantic call for help. Arriving at the clinic just as the sun was lighting the morning sky, Alita quickly follows Ito as he jumps out of the van and races for the clinic door. Kiyomi lags behind in order to secure her vehicle. Ito mutters a curse and Alita's heart jumps into her throat at the sight of the clinic's, her home's, front door hanging open on one hinge, smashed open from the inside. A small crowd of would-be patients had gathered on the sidewalk, none of them having dared approach the damaged door of the clinic. In her anger, she briefly wondered why no one had gone in to check on Gerhard, but realized that no one here would know anything about that, and none of them were going to risk inadvertently causing further harm to the clinic that had so generously cared for them. A couple of early arrivals hesitantly shuffle towards Ito as he heads for the open doorway. "Hey, Doc," one of them says, an older man, his features as weathered as his clothing, wearing a worried expression. "You guys okay?" Ito's face is tight with anger, his manner distracted, but his voice remains relatively calm, maintaining the more compassionate tone he tends to take with his patients. "We're fine, but the clinic will be closed for the day. I'm sorry." He hurries past the early arrivals, Alita hot on his heels. As they pass through the ruined door, the concerned chatter of the people followed them in. "Who would do something like this to Doc Ito?" wonders one woman in a shocked voice. Alita already knew the answer, and she burned to get out and hunt the bastard down, but first, she needed to make sure the others were going to be okay. They barely paused as they rushed through the clinic, making their way towards the stairway to the basement, Ito cursing again at the additional signs of damage. Overturned furniture, smashed cabinets and equipment, items scattered about, some of the dividers Ito had put up to provide more privacy for his patients, laying flattened and broken on the floor. Despite the destruction, it looked like Fenrir had been in too much of a hurry to make a thorough job of things. "I'm going to check upstairs," Alita tells Ito, as she quickly makes for the staircase, wanting to ensure the place is clear just in case. She halfway hopes Fenrir was stupid enough to lie in wait for their return. Ito merely nods in response as he maintains his purposeful, hurried pace towards the basement. She makes a rapid check to the upstairs, sweeping and clearing each room before returning to and descending the stairway, taking multiple stairs at a time. Upon reaching the bottom, she meets up with Kiyomi, just now arriving. Her friend's normally cheerful face is grim and troubled at the sight of the scattered destruction. Without a word, the two of them fall into step together and hurry down to the basement. Upon reaching the bottom, she and Kiyomi turn a couple quick corners to see Ito crouched down next to a visibly exhausted Gerhard. The doctor and nurse are both huddled, backs to them over Jason's prone figure. All around Jason's head and upper body is a pool of scarlet heart's blood. Gerhard's arms are covered in heart's blood up to the elbows. More shocking is that, even under the massive bandaging to stem the bleeding, Jason looks to be missing the lower half of his face. From the nose down, it's smashed and deformed. The rest of his face is discolored by bruising, swollen and misshapen. Gerhard had been able to communicate the problem to him as they drove, but seeing it firsthand was another matter. At the sight, Kiyomi lets out a shocked gasp. Ito looks up at the sound. Alita, I need you to get me a stretcher while I see to Jason. He gestures to Kiyomi. Help Gerhard up. He returns to ministering to Jason. Besides working exhaustively on Jason, Gerhard had been sitting in nearly the same position on a concrete floor for hours. Before their arrival, every time Gerhard had tried to get upstairs for better medical equipment, the little portable heart monitor she had Jason hooked up to would threaten to flatline. So, she'd been forced to stay by his side to ensure he would remain stable. As it was, Jason had still flatlined twice. Alita took it as a testament to Gerhard's skill that, even without better equipment, the nurse had managed to resuscitate Jason both times and keep him alive. Kiyomi rushes forward to help Gerhard shakily to her feet while Alita sprints back upstairs, her berserker body traversing the distance far faster than an unaugmented human. It takes her a couple moments to find the folding stretcher Ito was referring to. Grabbing it up, she then hurries back down to the basement, practically skipping the stairs entirely. When she gets back to the group, Kiyomi is supporting a painfully exhausted Gerhard. Alita's anger is newly inflamed at the sight of the puffy and bruised condition of the nurse's face. It takes very little time for them to get Jason and the portable vitals monitor onto the stretcher and upstairs. As they climb the stairway, Ito quickly confers with Gerhard over procedures they'll have to use and any internal injuries they'll have to probe for. After getting Jason settled on the operating table, Alita retreats to give them room to work. Having helped out a little, she feels a compulsion to help out more, or more precisely, to do something. She stands near the door to the kitchen for a moment, watching Ito and Gerhard work on the fragile, broken body of the man who spilled blood defending their home. The whole scene is a bitter, unwelcome reminder of what a cyborg attacker can do to a flesh-and-blood human body. It's too reminiscent of another fragile human body that Ito had worked on. She forcefully pulls her mind away from that memory before the pain wells up too high, returning her attention to the current crisis. She thinks to herself, if it hadn't been for Jason, that might be Gerhard lying on that table instead. Alita's emotions vacillate between relief and gratefulness that Gerhard is now safe, and self-recriminations that she hadn't been here to protect them herself. She quickly shakes herself out of it and decides there is nothing she can do. She can clean up a bit and take stock of what supplies weren't smashed, preparing them for Ito's use as he operates. Kiyomi sees her friend begin moving to clean and comes over to her, quietly offering, "Hey, let me give you a hand." Alita stops with a glance at Ito and Gerhard, then responds just as quietly, "Actually, do you think you could get some coffee going? Maybe put together something to eat? No telling how long those two are going to be working, and it would be really helpful to have something on standby for when they get a moment." Kiyomi's gaze lights on the pair at the operating table and back to Alita. "Sure, I can do that," she says understandingly. Alita gives her friend a gentle, affectionate squeeze in the arm to send her off and gets back to her own task. After hours of work, an already exhausted Kiyomi takes a quick break, only to end up falling asleep at the kitchen table. Alita chooses to let her friend rest, pausing her own work to gently lay a light blanket over Kiyomi. She then finishes cleaning up, her cyborg body able to go for far longer with little rest. All told, not a lot was stolen. Unfortunately, what wasn't stolen was largely smashed up, such as a couple pieces of expensive equipment that will be difficult to replace. And what was stolen was expensive as well and difficult to replace, like the medical nanotech and the speed healing drugs. Also gone is the entirety of the clinic's savings to buy new drugs and supplies. Meanwhile, hunting for bone fractures and internal injuries isn't the hours-long undertaking that Alita had thought it might end up being. Ito and Gerhard employ an old ultrasound device that Ito had only recently managed to track down and purchase just for use on Jason. Unlike the more modern electromagnetic and radar imaging scanners, it doesn't offer the same level of detailed scans or the wide range of use, being predominantly used to scan for microfractured and cybernetic parts, but it does the job. The ultrasound scan reveals that a good portion of Jason's skull is a network of fractures of varying severity, as is the back of his rib cage. His spine, however, seems to have suffered the worst. Jason's unusual properties mean that Ito will be hard-pressed to fix the damage left from Fenrir's attack. A great deal of time and resources will be needed, resources that they don't currently have. Having finished cleaning up and getting things somewhat in order, she considers heading out to hunt, but can't bring herself to leave until she knows for certain about the operation. While considering what to do next, she's interrupted by the electronic keening of the heart monitor, warning that Jason's heart has stopped for a third time. Her gaze snaps to the operating table and the scene playing out there. Ito scrambles to resuscitate Jason, but is reduced to doing so without the benefit of a defibrillator's electrical pulse. Ito and Gerhard both move with controlled professional urgency, Ito compressing the patient's chest while Gerhard administers salvaged emergency medications and adjusts the life support systems that Jason is now hooked up to. Transfixed by the life and death struggle she can do nothing to affect the outcome of, she silently pleads, "Hang on just a little longer." The seconds stretch into a minute, then another. The timer until brain damage, then death, ticks down and Alita's breathing slows to a stop. She feels Kiyomi's presence next to her, likely woken up by the alarm, but she keeps her eyes on the struggle to restart the heart of the now lifeless form on the operating table. Anger burns at the feelings of helplessness, that all she can do is stand there and watch him die. Just as the dread certainty begins settling in that they're about to lose the patient, the keening alarm breaks into the steady rhythm of a heartbeat. Relief washes over her and she begins breathing again. Kiyomi exhales loudly next to her and asks quietly, her voice hesitant, "Do you think he's going to make it?" Alita gently places a reassuring hand on Kiyomi's arm and tells her friend confidently, "I'm sure of it." If nothing else, she's sure that Ito and Gerhard won't rest as long as there's even a slim chance of saving Jason. Later, having finally stabilized their patient, Ito and Gerhard take a quick break in order to get a little rest, get some food, and tend to Gerhard's minor injuries. Settled in around the table, Alita sits close to Gerhard, carefully cleaning the nurse's abrasions and bruising before applying a thin layer of antiseptic spray bandaging. Kiyomi sits nearby, looking as unhappy as the rest of them feel. Ito sits across from Gerhard, his hands wrapped around a mug of coffee as they listen to Gerhard finish relaying the details of her harrowing ordeal. "After he dragged me down there, I convinced him that I couldn't open the strongbox." Gerhard winces slightly as Alita gently rubs the swab of disinfectant over an abrasion on her cheek, then goes on. "But he still managed to bust it open. I thought it would be sturdier than it was." "So did I," Ito says absently. "Clearly I'll be shopping at a new vendor for a replacement." His tone is a little light, likely a pale attempt at humor. Gerhard pauses to collect herself before continuing. "When I heard a noise back towards the stairway, I saw Jason peeking around a corner. I tried to convince Fenrir it was nothing, but the bastard went to check on it anyway. Next thing I know, Jason lunges at him with some kind of device and there was this explosion." "I noticed some items missing from my work table when we brought Jason up," Ito says. He shakes his head in mild amazement. "It's a miracle he didn't lose more body parts when he used it on Fenrir." Gerhard's tone becomes regretful, as if trying to apologize for not keeping Ito's patient out of trouble. "I had no idea Jason would try something like that. I was trying to keep Fenrir away from him." Ito gently rebukes her. "You weren't at fault for what happened." Gerhard nods, letting out a short sigh. "Anyway, after I recovered from the shock of the explosion, I see Fenrir get to his feet. Jason had managed to badly damage him, but that only slowed him down. I watched him grab Jason and pin him to a wall, screaming at him about how he'd pay for doing that, how he was going to slowly tear him apart. Then he slams Jason on the floor and starts beating him. I grabbed the nearest thing that looked like it would do some damage and drove it into Fenrir as hard as I could." She takes a deep breath and shakily lets it back out. "When he knocked me away, I was sure he'd come after me next. I was so relieved when he just grabbed the money and ran. But when I saw what he did to Jason," tears well up in her eyes, and she bows her head, burying her face in her hands as her body shudders from a single sob. Sorry, Gerhed says, her voice muffled by her hands. As she uncovers her face, the tears have already dried, though her expression is pained, almost despondent. I was just so terrified of what he was going to do, that he would come back. Her heart aching for what her dear friend has gone through, Alita immediately puts down what she's holding and wraps her arms around Gerhed. We're just glad you're safe now, she says quietly to her. With both hands, Ito clasps one of Gerhed's hands reassuringly. Even Kiyomi gets up from her chair and puts her arms around Gerhed and Alita, solemnly giving them both a big hug. Gerhed gratefully turns their shows of comfort and support. When they part, Ito tells Gerhed, Jason's stable for the moment, so I think you should try to get a few hours rest before we get back to work. A look of determination crosses Gerhed's face. No, I'm all right. The amount of work Jason is going to need, Ito interrupts firmly, fixing her with a stern but compassionate gaze, still needs to be planned out. He holds up a little data pad he was making notes on. Most of his vertebrae will require replacing, probably his entire spinal column. His skull will also likely need a complete rebuild. There's a great deal that needs to be considered before we can proceed, and I can do that myself. Get some rest. You've more than earned it. I'll wake you when I'm ready to proceed. With some reluctance, Gerhed relents, allowing Alita to finish tending to her hurts. It doesn't take long, then Gerhed heads upstairs. Alita watches her go, her heart heavy with worry over the woman's well-being after what she's been through. I suppose you had best get hunting, Ito says somewhat darkly. I wish I could be out there, helping you hunt this bastard down. Alita carefully collects the items she was using onto a small tray in the center of the table, using the activity to help her keep her temper in check. When done, she smiles affectionately at her foster father. I know, but I'm glad you'll be here, making sure everyone's safe. She pauses thoughtfully for a moment. Although, I think I should call in some help. I'd feel better if there were an extra body watching her back while I'm gone. Kiyomi looks up from staring into her coffee cup. You think Fenrir will come back? As she stands up, Alita gives the young woman a rather grim look. I think someone might have given Fenrir some prompting to come after the clinic in the first place. Nova? Ito asks evenly. Alita nods to Ito. Everyone knows not to mess with this place, or you, so it seems like a strong possibility. What she doesn't voice aloud is this quiet fear that Fenrir's hatred of her made all this possible, and somehow made her at least partly responsible for her home and family being attacked. Planting her fist knuckles down on the table, she leans forward. Whatever the case, I intend to get back everything that was taken and put Fenrir down before he can do any more damage. Pushing off from the table, she steps away and boots up her internal cell phone, mentally inputting a number for dialing. After just one ring, Roman's voice asks, Hey, what's up? Crossing her arms loosely over her chest, she glances towards the operating theater and the unconscious form lying there. I'm at the clinic. Fenrir attacked last night while I was away. Gerhed and Jason were hurt. I need your help. Can you meet me? There's the barest of shocked pauses before Roman answers simply, I'll be right there. I'm going to have to pause it there for a moment. We got some activity here.
No problem. Yeah, this is the chapter where we're going to see Alita do her thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that this is when they have some people come over for gaming, so it's getting a little busy.
All right. That's all right. We're pretty loose on this stream.
We've had many chapters of things being introspective, but now it's time for shit to get real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's about to.
Yep.
Everybody appreciates the opportunity to hear about Alita kicking ass.
Yes, absolutely.
All righty. Let's see. Where was I? Ah, yes. She called Roman. Roman answered. With everything finally settled a bit, Ito reports Fenrir's crime to the factory. Normally, the factory wouldn't care, since under any other circumstances, this wouldn't involve factory property or personnel. But Ito managed to get some of the stolen items tagged as factory associated, since he uses them in his work as a tuner. And that line of work classifies him as a factory contractor. It's not much, but it allows a bounty marker to be issued for one Fenrir, rogue motorball player. All that aside, Fenrir knows the city well and no doubt has plenty of places to hide. Since the main entry is blocked until repairs can be made, Alita meets Roman at the side door, unlocking it and letting him in. Somewhat to her surprise, Roman didn't come alone. Even though it didn't take him long to arrive, he still managed to round up Saza and the brothers Roberto and Bannock. She called Roman because she felt she and Ito had a closer relationship with him outside of the arena, but the others were also as much friends as they are teammates, although the brothers did try her patience quite often. Once all four are inside, Roman whirls his imposing frame around and asks with restrained concern, "How are they?" "Gur heads upstairs resting," Alita responds. She gestures towards the operating theater. "Jason's on life support." "Holy hell," Saza mutters. She gestures with a thumb at Roman. "We had dinner with him just last night. What the hell happened?" Alita gives him the short version. Fenrir breaking in, attacking Gerhad, and Jason attempting to come to her aid with an improvised explosive. Roman shares a glance with Saza and then asks Alita, "What do you need us to do?" Roberto and Bannock look at each other, then Roberto steps forward, actually puffing his chest out and confidently proclaims, "My brother and I will get to hunting Fenrir down immediately. He won't..." "No," Alita tells Roberto in a commanding tone. She'd intended to have Roman safeguard the clinic while she hunted down Fenrir, but the added bodies give her another idea. It could take days to track Fenrir down alone, so Roman and Saza and I are going to track him down. I need you two to stay here and make sure everyone is safe until this is over. The brothers might be as good at bounty hunting as they are at motorball, but in current circumstances, she was far more trusting of the judgment and experience of her two older teammates. And she certainly didn't need the brothers' grandstanding in some misguided attempt to impress her. Bannock steps forward to stand next to his brother. In an almost patronizingly reasonable tone, he says to her, "Roman and Saza aren't even registered hunters, but Roberto and I are. Please, Alita, let us help." Normally, Alita had little trouble enduring the brothers' fumbling interest in her, even going so far as to put up with their awkward flirtations despite keeping the pair at arm's length. But her home and family had been attacked, and someone she had come to consider a friend lay at death's door. Her patience was at the breaking point. Her brows coming down and together in a furious stare, Alita snaps, "I don't need help taking him down. I need help finding him. And I need someone to watch my home to make sure he doesn't come back to make a second try while I'm out looking for him." One side of her mouth comes up in a near snarl as she grabs Bannock by the collar and yanks him down to eye level. "Can the two of you do that or not?" she asks through clenched teeth, her voice nearly a growl. Moving just their eyes, the two brothers share a quick, surprised glance. In a much humbler tone, Bannock answers, "Yes, you can count on us." Alita releases him, along with a calming breath, her temper cooling. "Good," she says more calmly to the brothers. "Thank you." They respond with quiet nods. She goes to let Ito know she'll be heading out to retrieve her Damascus blade. When she returns to the main room, she finds Roman and Saza gathered in recovery around Jason's bed. The brothers are hovering near the door, outside the room. The regular chime of the heartbeat monitor and the quiet, rhythmic susurrations of the life support system are the only sounds as four cyborgs look down at the heavily bandaged man. The brothers look uncomfortable, like they'd rather be somewhere else. The two older motorball players merely look grim and concerned. While aware that the brothers don't much care for Jason for whatever reason, Alita can see that her older teammates really do seem to like the strange man. At the sight of her, Roman asks with a subdued gesture towards Jason, "He doesn't have any augmentations. Hell, he barely has any functional limbs. The hell was he thinking going at Fenrir like that?" His tone is a mix of genuine concern and disbelief. Pain momentarily tightens her voice as Alita responds simply, "He was trying to protect Gerhard." Her mind silently adds, "He was trying to protect my home when he could have just hid." Roman merely nods, his mouth pressing into a thin line. Saza turns to Alita. "Let's find that fucker." The three of them quickly head off into the city. Splitting up, they keep in contact over the cellnet as their search starts with other local cyberdocs, since that's the first place Fenrir was likely to go after getting a hole blasted through him. The physician at one of the Cedar clinics tells Roman that Fenrir had come through, gotten his arm working again, as well as additional repairs, and left in a big hurry. For the first day or so, the search goes slowly. However, after word gets around that Fenrir had attacked Ito's clinic, information starts coming to them from people Ito had helped over the years. Even so, the trail still ends up going cold until an unexpected break hands Alita a new lead. Balancing on the balls of her feet, forearms resting on her knees, Alita crouches on the roof of a tall, partly collapsed building overlooked the industrial area below her as she considers her next move. Her long black coat trailing out behind her and her fierce countenance as she scans the city below would likely put any observers in mind of a predatory bird scanning for prey. The chime of her internal cell phone pulls at her attention. Roman calling her. She answers it, sub-vocalizing. "What have you got?" "One of Fenrir's teammates, Castile," Roman replies. "He's a hunter-warrior on the side. Says he's tracked down Fenrir." Alita recalls the other enemy paladin that had helped Fenrir in his pincer attack in the last game, the one she sliced across the torso after he'd crushed her leg. Suspicious, she asks, "Why would he help us?" "He wouldn't say. If you like, I can put him through and you can ask him yourself." After a moment's consideration of whether it's worth it to waste any time on this, she decides, "Do it." A rough-sounding voice comes over the line, asking without preamble, "I got his location. You want it or not?" "If you have him in your sights, why don't you just take the bounty for yourself?" she asks in a cold voice. There's a heartbeat or so of silence. Then, in a softer tone, Castile replies, "Some time back, before I got into motorball, my wife was dying. We couldn't afford the treatment she needed to live, so out of desperation, I went to Ito. Didn't know much about him, only that he helped people in need, and wasn't expecting much when I saw that little clinic. But he gave her the synthetic organs she needed. Didn't ask for anything in return. I've paid him back since then, but as far as I'm concerned, I still owe the man." Castile's voice becomes rougher. Grinding each other to scrap on the track is one thing. That's the game. But Fenrir took this outside the track. He fucked with your family. So yeah, he's in my sights, but he's all yours if you want him. Figured you might. Satisfied, Alita says, "I do. Where is he?" After Castile provides the location, she says to him more warmly, "Thank you. Good luck, Hunter." The call ends without further ceremony. Reaching the provided location after sunset, Alita pinpoints Fenrir's hiding spot and takes a moment to ensure he's alone, before dropping in from the rusting skeleton of an old crane. It's a 7-story fall that ends with her smashing through the rotting steel and concrete roof and into the large chamber that her targets hold up in. Before she even hits the floor, combat systems kick in, accelerating her perceptions and making time seem to slow. Straightening up from the landing with her sword drawn, bits of debris still sprinkling down, her low-light vision takes in the chamber. A surprised Fenrir sits on a piece of rusted-out machinery in a shallow alcove, the duffel bag of stolen goods sitting on the floor at his feet. A tiny stove is set up not far from the duffel with a small pot of something set on the little heating element. Scattered around, she can see several discarded drug vials, some of them from her father's clinic. Recovering from the suddenness of her entrance, Fenrir is getting to his feet, grabbing up a combat axe as he does. Wondering when you was going to show up, he growls, voice slightly slurred. Somehow it figured that you'd be the one to find me. Despite the obvious signs of a drug binge, he's steady on his feet and looking clear-eyed. Alita steps clear of the rubble around her landing point. As she does so, something catches her eye, partly buried by the debris. The body of a man, face gaunt with what appears to be weeks' worth of facial hair, dressed in tattered clothes, unnoticed during her initial recon for another living presence in the area. However, it's the eyes, or lack of them, that stand out. Dried remains of heart's blood mixed with streaks of blue cyber blood around the brutalized and now vacant sockets indicate they had once been at least cheap cybernetics. Her gaze flits to Fenrir's hands, catching sight of the dried blood on his thumbs. Fenrir notices her discovery of the body and chuckles a bit erratically. Serves him right. Little shit tried to cheat me. His expression becomes momentarily melancholy before snapping back to a malign sneer. Or rather, he did cheat me. Won't be doing that again, though, will he? She steps clear of the corpse, keeping her eyes focused on Fenrir, senses alert for any hint of ambush. Though she didn't see any sign of one, he could easily have an accomplice or other surprise waiting in the wings. What could someone in his position have offered you? She asks, with a nod towards the cadaver. She's not really curious, but she's hoping to learn if her suspicions are correct. Fenrir takes a step forward, carelessly kicking the little stove aside, sending it and the pot that was on it clattering across the floor a few meters away. The hot contents spill and splatter across the rubble-strewn floor. The sight of it momentarily reminds Alita of the pool of crimson on the concrete floor of the clinic's basement. It was his eyes, Fenrir says with a glance at the corpse nearby. His voice a quiet mutter. Strange, ice-blue eyes that seem to look right through you. And the things he told me, like he'd known me my whole life. Strange, ice-blue eyes, she thinks. A chill passes down her spine, her suspicions confirmed. Before she'd killed him, Vector's eyes turned a deep ice blue when Nova had taken over him. She spares one more glance at the corpse, feeling a pang of pity. One more lost soul used up and thrown away by Nova, she thinks bitterly. Refocusing on Fenrir. One more to add to the bill that monster will pay when I finally get my hands on him. Fenrir goes on, swaying slightly, his expression almost dreamy with his eyes fixed on the cadaver at Alita's feet. He knew things, secret things. He promised to help me get the life I've always dreamed of, that I've always fought for, that I deserve. All I had to do was this one thing for him. He said it would hurt you, and I liked the idea of that. Just rob your old man's clinic and take every credit chip I found in there straight to him. Told me he'd be able to take care of any bounty, and somehow I knew he could. His gaze turns baleful as it shifts upwards to meet her own gaze. Then that limbless meat sack fucked everything up. Didn't even know he was there, but that shouldn't have mattered. One side of his mouth twists into a snarl. Only one arm crawling on the ground like some insect. Dealing with him should have been so easy. His gaze becomes momentarily distant as he shakes his head in disbelief. Somehow he got the drop on me, blasted my systems to hell. His focus snaps back to her. I finally managed to get here, and what does he? Fenrir nods towards the corpse in the floor. Tell me? That he'd seen what happened, that he saw me get run off. I tried to explain what happened, but he just tells me he has no use for me, that I was too weak. So, Nova used you up and threw you away as well, Alita thinks to herself. She almost finds herself pitying Fenrir. Almost. Well, I showed him who's weak, Fenrir grinds on, his expression becoming progressively more hateful. His promises may have been a load of shit, but that doesn't mean I'm going down without a fight. And when I'm done, everyone is going to be sorry I was cheated. Maybe after I'm done with you, I'll head back to that clinic, pay that little insect a visit, and see how he likes having what's left of his body slowly pulled apart like human putty. His lips twist into a sadistic grin. Wonder if he can still scream with no mouth. Maybe I'll pull the front of his skull off and leave his eyes intact so he can watch his own brain splatter on the floor. The sadistic grin stretches into a leer. Of course, I could also pick up where I left off with that cute nurse. His mention of Gerhard kills what little remains of Alita's restraint, instantly stoking her rage to a white-hot inferno. She snarls and bares her teeth as she charges at Fenrir with a speed and ferocity he clearly wasn't expecting from the widening of his eyes. Her berserker body is faster and stronger than her motorball body, and he was no doubt anticipating what he saw as her street body to be less powerful than the one used in the arena. Despite his surprise, he reacts quickly enough to whip the axe up in an underhanded swing, a desperate attempt to strike her in the chest, an inner thigh, or otherwise force her into a defensive position. Alita twists to the side just enough to avoid the full force of its attack, letting the edge of the axe blade hit at a shallower angle, tearing a gash through her black bodysuit as it glances off the almost diamond-hard skin over her ribcage. Momentum carries her forward as her right arm comes up over Fenrir's extended arm, sweeping upward to stab her Damascus blade towards his face as blue plasma fire blossoms across its surface. Fenrir drops to one knee just as her blade spears through the space his head had occupied a split second before, and he turns in place, preparing to strike her back as she passes his position. Instead, she angles into him, slamming her smaller frame into his. He barely moves from the impact. With his attention on the plasma-sheathed blade in her right hand, she had flattened her left hand during the charge, fingers straight, forming a blunt spearhead. Keeping her body in the way, he doesn't see the plasma field flare to life around that hand. The cuff of her long coat sleeve vaporizes under the searing energies of the plasma. For an instant, their eyes meet. In his eyes is a triumphant look as he knows that this close there's no way she can dodge his next attack, even with her speed. He's convinced that his prey has made a deadly mistake. The triumph melts into confusion at the burst of light and heat that explodes between them as she drives her left hand into his chest, right through his heart. There's loud popping and chuffing noises as critical components of his cybercore are crushed and vaporized by both the kinetic energy of her strike as well as the destructive energies of the plasma field. The damage destroys Fenrir's primary nerve clusters, silencing communication between his cybercore and the rest of his body, instantly paralyzing him. With his life support system ravaged, blood flow to his brain ceases and hypoxia starts setting in. It'll still take minutes for his oxygen-deprived brain to die. Alita has no intention of letting him live even that long. Fenrir's face slowly goes slack, and Alita can see the life begin draining from his eyes, even as disbelief shines through. Shutting down her plasma emitter, she keeps her left hand in place to hold him up for just a little longer. The only thing you'll be doing, she says, in a voice thick with suppressed rage, her face a grim mask, is donating the parts to fix the man you tried to kill. Pulling her hand out of the cavity burned into his chest, she lets him slowly fall over. Once his body lies still, a quick stroke of her Damascus blade separates his head. Dropping the head into the duffel bag, she hefts the body onto his shoulder while grabbing up the duffel and begins making her way out of the industrial ruins. After leaving the body and duffel with Roman and Saza to deliver to the clinic, Alita makes her way to the factory and its regulatory department of public security, the turn-in point for all heads collected on behalf of bounty markers issued by the factory. Stepping through the huge double doors, she doesn't outwardly acknowledge the Centurions that moved to track her during her approach to the rebuilt kiosk at the end of the enormous hall. She knows what they're capable of now. And how to deal with them if they try anything. She casually identifies herself to the deckman at the kiosk and turns in Fenrir's head. Collecting up the dispensed bounty of a paltry 5,000 credit chips, she turns on her heel and departs the facility. Weary from the days of nonstop hunting and the emotional turmoil of the attack on her home, she finally returns to the clinic where she greets Roman and the others gathered in the kitchen. Around the room are little stacks of boxes and bags filled with what looks like food and other supplies. Looking around the stacks and piles, she asks, "What is all this?" Sazo gestures grandly at the clutter and cheerfully declares, "Gifts from your neighbors." Alita's eyebrows come up in surprise. "Really?" Roman hands her a cup of steaming hot tea. "Yep. Everybody in the neighborhood heard about what happened to their local cyberdoc. After everything he's done for them over the years, they wanted to return the favor. Ito turned away all but the most determined, however. He shrugs, one corner of his mouth raised in a faint smile. Got the impression he didn't want people putting themselves out on his account. Saza shakes her head in mild wonder and amusement. Typical Doc Ito. The weariness is momentarily banished by the show of goodwill from the community. Neighbors coming together to help each other in times of trouble, she muses to herself. Maybe this is the kind of world Jason grew up in. Perhaps that's one of the reasons for his constant depression. He so hates what the world has turned into. Guessing you're going to want to get some rest? Saza asks her. Alita nods, still halfway lost in thought as she sips her tea. Yeah, been a long day. Roman pats a nearby stack of gifted items. We'll get this last bit moved then. Get out of your way. Don't know about Saza, but I'd like to get some shut-eye as well. As the four of them get up to do so, Alita says to them gratefully, Thank you for coming to help. She gestures with a nod towards the brothers. All of you. Her teammates accept her thanks with quiet nods, the brothers perking up and becoming visibly more animated at her appreciation. Despite her annoyance with their insistence on posturing for her attention, the brothers had stayed to help out, and so she was thankful to them for that. Doesn't take long for her teammates to put away the community's gifts, then they depart. She exchanges a goodbye with each one of them individually, thanking them one last time as they head out the door. When the last of her team is left, she sinks into a chair, setting her cup to the side, and laying the Damascus blade across the table center. Crossing her arms on the table, she rests her head on them, closing her eyes. Just as her mind begins teasing at thoughts of what other enemies might come after her family on her account, Ito's voice from the kitchen doorway rouses her. Gerhard's resting in Jason's bed, so yours is open if you need it, he says quietly. Straightening up, she leans back in her chair as it protests with a couple loud squeaks. Soon. How are they? Ito pushes off from the door frame and comes over to take a seat next to her. Gerhard seems to be holding up rather well. Jason is stable, but I'm going to need to keep him in an induced coma for a while. He heaves a weary sigh. He still has several days' worth of surgery ahead of him. A light shrug of a shoulder. I don't think he suffered any brain damage. The constant frustration at not being able to use modern scanners to tell one way or another is audible in his tone. Putting a hand over hers, he asks softly, How are you holding up? Turning her hand over, she curls her fingers around his, clasping it. I'm doing well enough. Added Fenrir's bounty, such as it was, to help cover the costs of what he destroyed. Were you able to make use of any of the parts I sent back? Ito chuckles humorlessly and nods. Not as much as I'd like, due to Jason's condition, but it helped. I'll certainly be making use of the vertebrae to rebuild Jason's spinal column after I modify the parts for his physique. Fortunately, Jason's spinal cord itself is undamaged. She nods wearily, glad that something was of use. Is Kiyomi still here? No. She wanted to stay until you got back, but the brothers and I convinced her to get back to her work. I didn't want her falling behind and ending up in financial trouble she didn't need. She nods again, giving his hand a gentle squeeze. Good. Running her free hand through her hair, she feels the stress of recent events further melt away. But now that the hunt is over and things have quieted down, she feels the thrum of that constant heartache. She looks over at Ito. Would it be all right if I checked in on Gerhard? One corner of Ito's mouth lifts in a half smile. She's likely still asleep, but I'm certain she wouldn't mind you interrupting to make sure she's all right. Alita feels a pang of guilt at disrupting the woman's no doubt much needed rest. But having been absent for a couple days, she can't help this need to make sure the only person in the world she sees as a mother figure is actually safe and all right after what happened. Ito leads her upstairs to Jason's room. When they get to the door, Ito steps aside and lets her go first. She quietly pushes the door open and sees Gerhard, still in her scrubs, lying on the bed, snoring softly. Alita makes her way over to the nightstand and turns on the little lamp. Then, after a moment's guilty hesitation, gently jostles Gerhard's shoulder. Gerhard's eyes flutter open, accompanied by a deep intake of breath. When her eyes focus on Alita, she smiles wearily at her. Oh, hey, how'd the hunt go? Alita kneels down next to the bed and gently clasps Gerhard's flesh hand. It's over. I got back what I could, but Fenrir traded some of it away. Gerhard nods, the smile fading into a gentle frown as she sighs tiredly. Well, at least you put that bastard down. The last thing this place needs is another one like him running around. Alita nods agreement. One less to worry about. She gives the older woman's hand a gentle, reassuring squeeze as she says quietly, I just wanted to check in. Sorry to wake you. It's okay, Gerhard replies, her eyes already drooping shut again. I'm just glad you're back. Then she's softly snoring again, already sinking back into sleep. Quietly getting back to her feet, Alita softly presses her lips briefly against Gerhard's forehead. After turning out the light, she and Ito quietly leave the room. As they head down the hall and descend the stairs, she fills Ito in on what she learned. Ito looks unsurprised. Another one of Nova's sick little games, playing God with all of our lives. His normally pleasant expression hardens into a furious scowl. Alita says nothing, there being nothing to say. Having reached the main floor, Ito leads her into the recovering room, correctly assuming she would want to see Jason next. For a very brief, disorienting moment, memory hits her of Hugo lying in that very bed in his new cyborg body. Nothing like the bed's current occupant, whose body seems to reject cyberware. She can't help but wonder how differently things would have turned out if Ito had tried to have Jason put into a total replacement body when he first arrived. Total replacement augmentation requires just about everything but the brain and maybe a bit of spinal cord be replaced with artificial systems. Bones with metal alloy endoskeleton, muscles with servos and other artificial equivalents, heart and lungs with cybernetic life support systems, and so forth. But with Jason's condition, his brain would have failed to connect to any of the sensory systems of its new vessel, and he would have been completely paralyzed. The circulating blood supply would continue feeding oxygen and nutrients into Jason's brain, heedless of the condition of that brain. He would have been trapped in endless darkness, unable to escape it, unable to die. What kind of suffocating disembodied hell would he have been unintentionally subjected to? How long into the 28-day period of cyberware attunement before his mind unraveled from the seemingly endless sensory deprivation and he was plunged into howling insanity? She shakes off the unsettling thought. Ito stops at the foot of the bed, hands clasped in front of him as she continues on to stand beside the prone, almost limbless figure wrapped in bandages and hooked up to what almost looks like every life support system in the clinic. Under all the bandaging and tubes, what was once a rather handsome face now looks like a bruised and deformed mess. Even after we get the worst of this fixed, he's going to need a lot of reconstructive surgery, Ito remarks quietly. And some of it's going to be guesswork, since I only have a couple of photographs to work from. His mouth twists into a rueful frown, clearly regretting not having prepared better for such eventualities. She reaches out a hand and gently runs the tips of her fingers over the bandages covering Jason's shaven scalp, and the surgical scars that she can feel crisscross it in precise patterns beneath those bandages. Another time-lost castaway, she silently muses. Only he never found the kind of refuge I did. Not until now, anyway. Thrown hundreds of years from his home all that way to end up like this. Do you think he'll be able to make it here? She asks quietly, letting her hand fall back to her side. After a measured pause, Ito answers, I wish I could say for certain. As it is, I can't even imagine what coming here was like for him. When my family and I were exiled, Iron City was a bit strange, but not a complete unknown. We were always able to see it from there, so there was some sense of familiarity. I think that helped our transition to a life here. He gestures towards Jason with a nod. For him, however, it was so sudden. To be so abruptly dumped into a world so alien from the one he'd lived his whole life in. Shock of losing everything you knew and loved so suddenly. Ito shrugs helplessly at an apparent loss for further words. The world Jason described coming from is one she can't even really imagine. It's too far outside of the only frame of reference she currently has. Aside from the tiny fragments that all too rarely rise up from the dark abyss where her memories of a past life should be, this one city with its floating counterpart and massive space elevator comprises the totality of her known world. But Jason has traveled across so much of his world, crossing oceans and mountain ranges, seeing things no one in Iron City could imagine anymore. She flexes the fingers of one hand slowly, feeling the power that runs through her body, even in that slight movement. Memory comes to mind of her first time waking up in this clinic, the first time coming downstairs and seeing Ito and Gerhead. Not even a kindly doctor to help him adjust to this new world. All that time on that little farm, hiding who he really was, hoping to find his way back home. But his home is gone, dead. She clenches her hand into a fist. This home of mine isn't, though. Not after what he sacrificed to protect it. This wasn't your fault, Ito softly tells her, misreading her silence. I know that, she returns. Like you and Gerhead have said a number of times before, Nova knows how to get to the people I care about. Won't matter where I go or how far. I'm not... She closes her eyes as anger burns and she finds herself wishing there was an enemy in arm's reach. Still raging at Hugo's loss, at his murder at the hands of a man she can't even reach yet. Mad as hell at the attack on her home, the violence committed on a woman, a healer whose only crime is being associated with her. Anger that another friend, another person she had dared to care about was almost taken from her. And despite knowing better, anger at herself for not being here when it mattered most, forcing Jason to have to choose between risking his own life or leaving Gerhead to Fenrir's mercies. If Jason hadn't been here, she clamps her jaw shut. Opening her eyes, she glares at the far wall, not seeing it. Tears try to form, but she hardens herself against them. Then I think we're fortunate that Jason was here, Ito says quietly but firmly, as if to further steer her from that line of thinking. Strong prey on the weak down here, Hugo had once told her, what seems like a lifetime ago now. A deep breath, then she releases it along with most of the anger. In doing so, she's surprised to find that some of that anger is directed at Jason. But why? Because this well-intentioned idiot nearly got himself killed? Seems unfair in light of what he nearly got himself killed for. But some irrational, haughtier part of herself can't help but think, if he'd been stronger, then this wouldn't have happened. If he'd been able to fend off Fenrir. If he'd been stronger, or he'd have been able to fend off Fenrir. If he'd been stronger, he wouldn't have ended up in this clinic in the first place. On top of that, this won't be the last time Jason tries to help another, even at the risk of his own life. Of that, she's fairly certain. And when he finally gets himself killed doing that, it'll be another loss of someone she's come to care about. Another wound on a heart she's already taken to carefully guarding. She can't stand the thought of going through that pain again. She gazes down at the bandaged figure. I had insulated myself, distanced myself from the people around me, afraid of hurting them and of being hurt by them, afraid of any more connections. I began seeing personal connections as a weakness I couldn't afford, determined to tune out all else but achieving my goals at any cost. Then you show up. It had been difficult to believe that day when Gerhead had told her why this terribly mangled patient was brought in. That someone in the city could do such a thing as step in to save a complete stranger was difficult to believe. Only Ito had ever done something like that. Only Ito had ever cared enough to go out after dangerous criminals and try and stop them. Not for the money, though it had its uses, but simply because they were dangerous to other people and someone had to stop them. Then this stranger shows up, torn limb from limb for trying to step in and save a man he didn't even know. For no other reason than because trying to save that man was the right thing to do. Hearing Loretta's tearful retelling of what happened had both stunned and angered her. She's still not entirely sure why it did. One more story of an innocent life callously wrecked by a callous city. She was never happy to hear of such things, but after the fact, there was little that could be done, and she had a mission to fulfill. Maybe it was the reason this stranger in particular had landed in her father's clinic that had caught her attention. The first time she saw what had been done to that fragile human body after learning the reason from Loretta, something in her had snapped. Well, more precisely, snapped back into place. She had determined that it was time to reclaim what was hers, to stop running from what was always with her, would always be with her. So she had faced the pain of loss, endured the renewed rush of heartache as she had her father re-embody her into her berserker body. Her berserker body. Her body. In a way, it had almost been like coming home again, painful as it was. And having done so, she had gone out to avenge a wrong and brought retribution down on the man who had nearly murdered 2 people. That was when the first little gaps in her carefully constructed defenses had begun appearing. All those months focused solely on eliminating any obstacle, any one in her way as she raced towards the next win, the next rank up, focused on her path toward her ultimate goal, final champion. Nothing else had mattered. No one else outside of her little circle of friends and family, her dearly held loved ones, had been allowed close. Until a stranger who had risked his life and nearly lost it trying to save another. Someone who, she learned, was from a distant past that no one remembered any longer. Rather like herself in that regard. Without really meaning to, she had let this man into her life in a way she had vowed she would never do until her mission was complete. She didn't regret doing so, but now she nearly lost 2 people she cared about, and that pain threatened to overwhelm her again. With it came anger, burning hot and irrational. I let myself care about you, and now you'll go get yourself killed, she silently rails at Jason's still form. You don't have the strength to behave this way, to take on Iron City like this. You're too weak, too naive. No, not naive. He told her about that first encounter, the one that had landed him here. He'd been terrified. He'd known exactly what he was risking, and it must have been the same with Fenrir, knowing what he was risking to try to go against a combat-trained, total replacement cyborg, and doing it anyway. Because he refused to leave Gerhad in Fenrir's hands. Iron City hates people like that. It punishes them for thinking they can rise above this place, for doing more than keeping their head down and just surviving. So Iron City will chew him up and spit out what's left. And if, by some miracle, he survives that, it'll kill what's good in him. Unless he were to become stronger, strong enough to face those dangers. She considers that for a time, turning it over in her mind. Then she says aloud, if he's going to live here, he's going to have to be able to take care of himself. That means he needs to be able to protect himself. Ito stares at her a moment. You want to train him to fight. After a moment of studying the still form on the bed, she turns to Ito. I want to give him a chance at surviving. If he goes out there trying to help everyone he meets, he's not going to last. You told me yourself, the city finds a way of corrupting even the best of people. And it'll eventually do that to him unless he has some way to fight back and defend himself from the threats he's going to encounter. You give him a stronger body, and I can teach him how to use that strength, not only to defend himself, but anyone else he sees fit. Ito was silent for a couple heartbeats, gazing down at his patient. Without looking at her, have you considered the possibility that after what Jason's just been through, he's not going to be up to that sort of thing? I've seen other people go through similar ordeals, and even when they physically healed, they aren't often the same. Silence stretches as she considers Ito's words, as well as the man lying on the bed before her. Finally, I don't believe that he's come all this way, been dropped into our lives like this, survived everything he has just for his life to end that way. And it will if he doesn't have the strength to survive what this city will do to someone like him. Fast or slow, it'll kill him. Or it'll kill what's good in him. She looks over at Ito then, remembering what happened to him and his family. Ito seems to read something of that on her face. Like it did to me, he says in a soft, pain-haunted voice. Like it almost did to you, she firmly corrects him. You never stopped helping people. You never stopped putting others first. You're like him, she gestures to the prone figure. You help people who really need it. And you ask for so little in return. He wants to help people too. But he's going to have to do like you did. He has to adapt to life here. He survived this far. I believe he's got the strength to go farther. Maybe farther than even he realizes. Ito puts an arm around her and pulls her into a hug, planting a quick kiss on top of her head. Maybe you're right, he concedes, hugging her tightly before letting her go. Are you really going to have time for something like that, assuming he agrees? I will. A sharp sigh as Ito nods. All right then. Just go easy on him. He's been through a lot. Whatever else, this is going to have left its mark on him, and it may take some time for that to heal. It'll be fine. I just want to help him find his own strength so he can make his own way here. I think he deserves that much. Ito must have taken notice of something in her voice. Why does that almost sound like goodbye? He asks evenly. Her gaze is drawn to the figure lying on the bed again. Her tired mind takes note of little spots of blood that have begun soaking through the bandages wrapped around the ruin that used to be Jason's face. Tomorrow morning, those bandages will need changing. Without looking at Ito, she says, you know why. The subject of her mission was one that wasn't normally talked about much. Ito was never happy discussing it, even if he had accepted the reality and supported her in it. But after the attack on their home, she felt it needed to be said. I'm going to Zalem. When I get there, when I face Nova, I don't know what will happen or what it will be like after. I want to make sure the people I care about will be able to take care of each other whatever happens, and that includes him now. Perhaps we should wait and see if he's inclined to stay, Ito cautions her. What do you mean? Is he still going to want to associate with us when he finds out Nova had a hand in that attack? Learning that, he may feel we're too dangerous to be around after nearly getting killed. Again. Significant pause. Or maybe he shouldn't know about that. The question surprises her, the idea that Ito would suggest such a thing. Then it occurs to her, he's worried that if Jason learns of Nova's involvement, he'll panic, which can only end badly, particularly with this unique condition of his. She's silent for a time, staring down at Jason's bandaged form. The only movement, the slow, steady rise and fall of his chest as the machines ensure he keeps breathing. I don't think learning the truth is going to matter to him. I don't believe he'll be easily scared off by something like that. Her voice becomes a touch softer. Besides, we're all he has. He needs us, and his staying here helps you and Gerhard as well. I think he'll see that. The three of you together, you can look out for each other. Ito gently lays a hand on her shoulder. Very well then. I'll let him know once he's recovered. I'll do it. Weariness hits her anew, and she leans against Ito, resting the side of her head against his chest, feeling her eyelids become heavier. We should have some kind of celebration for him, don't you think? For when he finally gets his cybernetics. I'll tell him after that. Give Jason some time to get back together before dropping something like that on him, she figures. She feels Ito nod as he gives her shoulder a fatherly pat. I'll talk to Kiyomi. She might know some nice places for that sort of thing, seeing as she gets to do more socializing than we do. He sighs heavily. I think we can all use a reason to celebrate. After a short moment, Ito gently pushes her away and looks down at her. You should get some rest. I will. She lays a reassuring hand on his arm. I'm just going to sit with him for a bit. Ito stays where he is, the concerned look in his eyes edging towards argument. Instead, all right. Good night, sweetheart. He leans in and gives her a quick kiss on the forehead before turning to leave. After watching him go, it's her turn to sigh heavily. Taking a seat in the chair next to the bed, she looks over at Jason's comatose form. I know you didn't come all this way for nothing. I believe there's a reason, she says quietly. Then she silently watches over him, lost in thought. Those thoughts turn to the family Jason left behind. What would his Vanessa think of him now, she wonders. Would she be repulsed by the cybernetics, the changes he's been through? People back then wouldn't be used to these things. Or would she love him no matter what? She decides that the woman in those pictures, the one joking around and teasing her son in that short video, would have loved him regardless, and that she would be very proud of her Jason. End of chapter.
Wow.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Hope everybody else enjoyed it.
Any thoughts, Maxie?
You certainly set the field up very nicely to have things come together in this chapter to be really emotional and really powerful.
No, thanks. Yeah, I'm constantly worrying about that. So I guess I'm always nitpicking at the things I do, trying to make sure everything's just set up just so.
It kind of has changed a lot. In the start of the story, it felt more like you were just sort of cataloging how a person with mental illnesses would react to being displaced into the Alitaverse.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I was doing, because I was still really trying to get a feel for how to, sort of turn it into more of a story. And instead,
that's what I was kind of saying. You weren't telling a story in the beginning. You were cataloging reactions. And then it went from cataloging reactions to an actual story and, characters with motivations and characters that we know from, the other works that you borrowed them from. And we can see that you're consistent with their reactions. And now you've brought this other character in, and he's like become a pivotal point around which they're all orbiting in the story. And, even Nova is orbiting around Jason, not necessarily in this chapter, although he's involved peripherally, but knowing what I know of future chapters, Jason is kind of like a gravitational nexus in this
Which
story.
is a little odd, because I absolutely had not intended him to become that sort of central of a figure in their lives. I wanted him to be a central figure in his story, but he just kind of like altered their lives a little bit more, because I started to realize that, well, how would they actually feel about somebody doing that and making these sacrifices on their behalf? And I guess just kind of
you kind of stated how the people in this world feel about Jason. It's like you're the tall poppy, and we're gonna mash you down, kind of thing. How dare you try to be a goody two shoes in our world of gutter trash?
Well, except for the fact that the neighbors, kind of helped them out a little bit by giving them stuff. After all that, when they heard that the clinic was attacked.
Yeah. Well, that was to help repay Dr. Ito for everything that he'd been doing for them over the years, which was also taken from the manga, actually, when I think it's in Last Order it happens. Ito has to leave the farm that he moved to in the Badlands. And as he does, he gets a whole lot of help from everybody that was living in the community that he helped out. They all sort of risk themselves a little bit to help him escape.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what he will think about that. Well, another thing I think, though, even though that's true, Maxie, I think Jason in Lee's story has made an impact already on the people in Iron City. That's what I think.
Well, a few of them.
It's one of those things where, if going back to my tall poppy analogy, if you have something sticking out above everybody else in any sort of way, their eyes tend to turn towards it because it's unusual and different and sticking out. So
it's a break in the pattern, something noticeable.
Exactly. So even just by existing and being himself, Jason is an anomaly in the world, in Alita's world. And even though it's causing him all sorts of trouble, he's getting pulped on the regular, it is affecting all those people around him.
Yeah.
Because they see that his goodness is unstoppable, even if his body is quite stoppable. So it's impacting upon them. They're realizing that if this person who's practically defenseless can do these things, us cyborgs who have power should stop being gutless wonders and start doing something decent.
I think that's the impact he's had on him already, or at least planted the seed. Let's say that.
And of course, Nova's noticed him as well, and I don't want to spoil what's coming up because it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's the same. Well, Nova's reacting in the completely opposite direction to everybody else. The other people who are just trying to survive are realizing that they can do more than just try to survive. But Nova's realizing that this anomaly must be stomped down. And there's a thing in Japan about the nail that stands proud gets hammered down. I think is the translation.
Sounds familiar. I think I may have heard that way.
Yeah, you pick it up if you like read mangas and stuff, especially the sort of high school slice of lives and things like that. But basically, it's the idea that in Japan, everybody has to be the same. They all have to do the same thing. They try and
have to conform.
Yes, the conformity part is part of how the society works. Non-conformity is bad, and basically Jason just being himself is a non-conformist. And Nova's noticing this, and yes, well, let's just say that he's not going to put up with it.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's that one chapter. I don't know if you want to try for the next one. That's 17 pages is the next one. So.
Yeah, that was a monster.
Yeah, that's kind of long. We might, and plus we want to stretch it out, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Radio Chaos is going to have, they're going to have the advantage now going through Last Order. There's so much of it.
Yep.
Well, not that there's an advantage, Maxie, but I mean, you know what I mean. No,
they'll have a lot more material to cover.
Soon.
Yeah, that's right.
I could do 2 a month and still do 5 years.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I can't do that. So anyway, but yeah, it's fine.
Well, I am glad to hear some outside input as to how I've grown. It's nice to get another view on that.
Well, I know I'm enjoying. I haven't read your story now for about 4 weeks because I've been so busy. Of course, and then part of that was going to see our Queen Rosa, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed the story from the very first time I read it, chapter 1. I thought, wow, this is pretty good, because it reads more like real life, to me, than some stories do. I think Maxie's reads like real life in the 26th century for sure, but I think yours does as well. So
thanks.
Mine tends to have a little bit more of an adventurous flair to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's setbacks and things, but they're not completely like disabling. Let's
you've got these characters who are sort of anime level cyborgs with superhuman capabilities. They can sort of do more and take more, and their actions are a bit more larger than life.
Yeah.
Yes. But you look at someone like Jason, and you'd find people like that. Well, obviously not have cybernetic limbs attached and shit like that. But you go down to any ER in a big city, and you would find people like that have had the shit kicked out of them, had their limbs broken, had horrible things happen to them in car accidents or beatings or whatever on the regular. I mean, this stuff does happen every single day. It's just that we don't tend to see it unless you work in EMT or first
or
responder
working around
or
a
something
hospital
like
that would see it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or yeah, first responders too.
So yeah, I mean, it's really strange that our lives are quite sanitized. We're sanitized from death, and we're sanitized from like
Hardships.
terrible happenings. Yeah, we tend to try and avoid them. So we get this false sense of immortality, which can be taken away very quickly.
Yeah. Also a bit of a false sense of security as well.
Exactly. Life is dangerous.
Yep.
Sure as shit is dangerous in Iron City. I mean, granted, it's a fictional city, but it's still pretty freaking fictionally dangerous. Fictionally. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, any other thoughts, Maxie? I can't think of any.
Well, I guess just to wrap up my thoughts from earlier, the fact that a person who is effectively powerless, to the extent that anybody from Iron City would think in power levels, can still make the effort to do what he does, even though it costs him so much. Is kind of like a wake-up call. All these people who are just keeping their heads down and letting bad things happen all around them. And then there's one that says, no, that's not how I operate. It has a ripple effect. Yeah, and the people around them. And that's why I say that Jason's character has this gravitational effect that everybody's starting to orbit him, even though he's practically powerless because of his innate goodness, even though he's struggling with mental illness and the fact that he's been displaced. It doesn't stop him from being a decent human being, and reminding everyone around him, be they meat boys or cyborgs, that human decency is not something that they lack. It's just that they're not exercising. It's like anything. You don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, you need to exercise empathy in order to have a strong sense of empathy.
Exactly.
Well, he's definitely having an impact on Alita, I think.
Yeah. Well, he does have an impact on a certain other female character too, which will come to light in the next chapter.
Yeah, exactly. A different kind of impact.
Yeah.
So, all
right. That will be for next time.
That thing that you said you weren't going to put in, and then your
well, I ended up hinting at it, and then suddenly everybody's like, these two should get together. I'm like, I wasn't really. I mean, I had put it in there just because I figured having something happen beyond sort of, the quasi-sanitized kind of platonic interactions Jason has had seemed like it would round the story out a bit, even though I hadn't intended for anything more to come of it. But then everybody's like,
Did your girlfriend help convince you to do that?
No, she didn't convince me to do it. She did help me smooth out some of the dialogue and stuff. I wanted to get that done. But then she was also one of the people that was telling me that, these two should definitely be an item. And I'm like, I didn't intend for it. All right.
Well, we'll see how this comes out, won't we?
Writing by committee.
Yeah.
And let the great pretense begin.
Well, that's part of it too, is I didn't think I'd do a very good job with those aspects of a story, but kind of starting to think that maybe give it a shot, see where it goes, see what happens with it. Who knows?
Lee, I was just going to say, if you want to see some examples of really complex relationship stuff and, people trying to distance themselves from their own feelings and just not deal with stuff. There's these things called green text stories from Reddit. A lot of them are written by AI, but I mean the prompts come from humans. So sort of a lot of the detail is from human experience, even if AI put the text together. But a lot of them are really complicated. I've been listening to them going, wow, this is complex. It's like people trying to distance themselves from their feelings and just flat out deny attraction and things like this. And it gets really complicated, but really sort of, it's cathartic in a way, because you listen to these things and go, wow, I'm so glad I'm not that complicated. So yeah, I'll send you a couple of links after the show.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we're pretty much done, unless y'all got any more last thoughts.
Well, other than
keep writing, Lee. Really
I'm definitely working on it.
Yeah, keep writing, Lee. That's right.
Yep. Yeah, I was
you
really
have a
worried
fandom.
about that. Come again?
You have a fandom.
A fandom, man.
Which still surprises me a bit.
I'm probably
but I'm
your
certainly
number,
not unhappy about it.
I'm probably your number 2 greatest fan.
Oh, well, thank you.
I leave the number 1 spot for your girlfriend, of course, because
yeah, she's got to be. Yeah. Well, Maxie, you and I are tied for number 2.
Okay. No, you're Rose's number 1 fan.
I'm Rose's fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
number 1
Rose's fan. Oh, I thought you meant the other way around. No, I thought you said she was.
Well, Rosa could be your fan. I don't know. Never met her to ask.
No, she's not. Well, I think. Well, she loves us all. That's all I'm gonna say. So.
Yeah.
All right then. Did we miss anything?
Yeah, nothing I can think of.
I think that Jason's probably missing a few things.
Yeah, he's missing a few things.
Oh yeah, he's missing a bit more than he was missing before.
Yes.
But fortunately, that gets fixed here shortly.
Well, and also, as Angelus would say, that rascal that's working his butt off to get not only Alita merch, but to pay for his trip to the UK. Would say we're missing sequels. Yep. Yes, we are. You know, we are missing 8 sequels. So anyway, that's what we want. As you can see from that middle panel there, that Alita does love her Uncle Creek, and that's because he wants those sequels, just like all of us in the Alita Army does. Or do, I guess. There's our queen right there, and I'll tell you, we are lucky to have Rosa. I said this at the top, but we're lucky she got selected to play Alita, because you know, the others that were in there, particularly 2 of them that I can think of, would have been pretty good, I think. You know, but I don't think they would have been near as good as Rosa. You know, I think Rosa is just. She's so expressive, you know. I mean, golly, it's hard to quantify, you know. Oh God, Maxim will start waxing lyrical.
You are.
So anyway, I want to give a shout out to El Lamont and Jesse Fisher as well, because they brought Screwhead to life. And what I want for Alita and Screwhead to team up and take on Joshigan in Alita 2. And if that happens, you know, that's pretty cool. You know, and they could, Maxie, something I think you would love, that maybe Screwhead approaches Alita and kind of pals up with her or something like that. And then a twist at the end of the story, she tries to betray her, you know, something like that. You know, that'd be kind of, you know, that would be kind of a twist, I think, that would work. You know, of course, I think it would not work out well for Screwhead, but you know, who knows how that would go, you know. But anyway, I think all 3 of these ladies need to be in the sequel. They are just superb. You know, certainly Rosa. I mean, God, what a great actor. Elle's a super duper actor. I mean, I think she's great, you know. And I mean, to pull off the character she pulled off in Alita without a single line, that is pretty damn good, you know.
Yep.
And of course, Jessie, you know, as Elle said, is the most badass stunt woman she ever worked with. So, hey, you know, those 3 would make a great combination, I think, in the sequel. Maxie, you want to talk about this one?
Well. Apparently there's a manga. Ricky?
There's a manga? A manga? Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. I ain't never heard no manga.
No, there's no manga. There's a manga, maybe. I don't know about a manga.
Oh yeah, there you go. Well, anyway, the manga. We completely finished the first one. So tick the box, knock that one down. So we manga. Okay. So we're kicking off. We did a double barrel this month. We finished up the last of the side stories for the original, and now we're on to Last Order. So we're kicking off Last Order. This is the canon continuation after the baby bomb. So be prepared for Alita to wake up in Zalem yet again, but it's a bit different this time.
Yeah.
So do join us for that one tomorrow. It should be awesome. We are starting the 19-volume long Last Order, which should take us until about 2032 if we do one a month.
Yeah, exactly. Which hopefully we'll have at least 5 sequels by then. So
look, I'm probably going to run out of topics and just do 2 a month. So we'll cut it down to 5 years instead of 10.
And also, I want to say, everybody, that you really need to kind of join us for these manga readings right here, because Alita's going to be in her Imaginos body, and that one is kick-ass.
That one's Creek's favorite body.
That's exactly right. Especially that Imaginos 2.1 Cat Lita, where she has that tail.
Oh, Badman, you just won the internet. Look at that comment. Throw it up there, Creaky.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we might be able to finish the Last Order before the U.S. scrapyard.
Oh my God.
Yeah, really. So anyway, all kidding aside, join us for this, because I really enjoyed the Last Order. I mean, I like all the mangas. I mean, Jesus. But I really like the Imaginos body because of its just pure power, So. And of course, join us next week. We're going to do another stream. I have not come up with a topic yet, and probably won't do so until Friday morning. No, I will. No, but I'll come up with one relatively early in the week. And, we are the sister channel to Radio Chaos. And we're both Radio Chaos and the Alita Livestream. Our primary objective, of course, is to keep Alita current so we can get that sequel. And that's the way it is. Now, the thing about this stream that's different than Radio Chaos is that we're not organized as like Radio Chaos is. So, now today I did not put a link in the chat because of the reading, but when we do have just a normal stream, I do put the link in the chat. And, if we say something that you want to argue with or agree with, you can click on that link and come on and just chat with us, about it. But if all you want to do is come on the stream and say, I love Alita, you can do that as well. But it's really kind of a good testing ground to see if you've got a new headset or new mic or something like that, then you can come on here. And if it screws up, we don't care. We just keep pressing on, as the English would say, press on regardless, So that's kind of what we do here. We just kind of amble on through the universe trying to get that sequel. That's what we're doing. And of course, that's let me go past that. I don't care about that. And of course, if you want to come and talk to us, and this part of the whole process here is not streamed. You click on this link right here that I just put in the chat. And after the stream is over, I'll bring you in. Now you'll be, if you click on it now, you'll be in the backstage. And I won't bring you on. We'll wait till the stream's over to bring you in. But we do cool stuff here. We talk, and when we get the 2 authors on here, of course, a lot of the talk is about writing stuff. But we also play videos, and we'll show pictures and stuff like that. And just chat, we just do that as well. So if you want to come, kind of, chat with us, talk with us, kind of screw around with us or whatever you want to do. We don't bite, at least unless you want us to. And, we just have a good old time after this, just talking. We are the Alita Army. We are advocates, and we support Alita and Rosa passionately and positively. And Disney, we are here to stay. You're not getting rid of us. Bob Iger has named his successor. I think that's the guy that's CEO of the parks, isn't it? I think something like that. But even if he is recalcitrant, we're still going to keep doing this until they finally come to their effing senses and green light the sequel, because they will make money. They made money the first time, even after the merger kind of screwed everything up. It still made money. And now, and this is for Disney, if you hear this, you've got well over 300,000 PR people working for you, so come on, Disney, give us that sequel. We will gladly transfer our money from our hands to yours. Some of us will go see the sequel 100 times, at least, and we'll buy merch, we'll buy games. And if you stream Alita and you come up with anime and stuff like that, we'll subscribe. So just do it. Come on, man, come to your senses and make a good business decision for a change, and then of course you'll make money. Anybody want to add to that?
I think you said all it needs to be.
Yep.
It's pretty simple. They just have to follow the program.
Yeah. Pretty simple. Build the sequel and they will come. Anyway, why is this image here? Well, that image is there because I like it and I'm running the stream. So that's why it's there. And to paraphrase Gruwishka, I'm only here for our girl and our queen and the Alita Army. And so that only leaves us with one thing left to do, and that would be on my count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Film
sequels,
baby.
So anyway, we will see you next Friday on the Alita live stream. We'll see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos. Bye.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.
What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita live stream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.
No cause is lost, if there was but one fool left to fight for it.
Yeah, Gary, that'd be nice.